All right, thank you so much for joining us on this CNBC Africa special. My name is Eugene Anangwe. Now, Rwanda is on the move in every aspect. Rwanda says it doesn't want to be left behind when it comes to e-commerce. And of course, there's some efforts that have been put in place by those in the policy side. And of course, the players as well have been doing their best so that they can also have a footing on this. We'll be able to talk a bit about that. Rwanda's growing e-commerce sector in this particular special. Now, let me bring in our panelists. Odyssey Ndaisawa, CEO, Continuity Group Limited. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you, Mr. Anangwe.
Also with us is none other than Ghislaine Ngeramugawa, who's actually CEO of RICTA. Thank you for joining us on the program. And with us is also Leonard Mungarurire. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Indeed, gentlemen, this is something that is dear to your hearts because you are either actively working around e-commerce or policy, driving the whole drive. And I want to start with you, CEO, because what we know is that close to 3 months ago, Rwanda did launch a nationwide campaign that was aimed at driving local businesses to go e-commerce, to trade online. I want to read your thoughts on how much ground we've covered so far from that campaign today.
So that campaign was initiated 3 months ago, as you mentioned, and our target was SMEs basically. So already those who are trading and telling them the benefits of going online. So our little addition to that was Akadomorwa, which is our Rwandan identity. So if Rwanda develops its e-commerce ecosystem, it has to have the digital identity of Rwanda. So we went in multiple places, that will be Chic, Meek, UTC, and we talked about the benefit of e-commerce in general terms, not necessarily enrolling them, though we were with service providers that were providing e-commerce solutions, but the bigger part was about awareness.
So creating the identity on the online platform. So in the end, so if someone was already online, but they had the .com, the .ke, what was going to happen there? You're trying to tell them, no, switch back and go to
No, not at all. So if they are already present with a .com, it's okay. It's still a Rwandan business with a .com, a generic identity, it's okay. But going forward, those who are not yet there, they should consider having .rw.
Right, let me jump first of all to Leonard before I come back to you, Ndaisawa. Leonard, you are tasked with actually coordinating the e-commerce project here in Rwanda. Talk to us a bit about the journey so far, because this is something that is sort of new to some, because the CEO here says that there was a drive to actually encourage those already in the business to jump in. How has it been so far?
Thank you. Yes, e-commerce is new to some small, medium enterprises and entrepreneurs, but it's been around in Rwanda for quite some time. And I think it's important to understand beyond the Rwanda context that e-commerce, for example, on the continent is valued at 16 billion as of 2016 by McKinsey, projected to grow to about 75 billion by 2025. And so how does Rwanda tap into this African market of e-commerce? So this project really seeks to support small, medium enterprises in Rwanda, entrepreneurs, and empower them with the tools, with the skills, with the knowledge, with the know-how. Practically, how do you get your products online? How do you digitize? How do you handle issues to do with logistics and payments? So we are working with 150 SMEs, and we are also working with Rwandan e-commerce coaches who we've been training over the past 1 year, who in turn are going to support us in training these SMEs and empower them with these skills.
And what are you telling them?
Look, what we're telling SMEs is e-commerce is possible. The world we live in nowadays requires that you actually have your product and service online. The digital market space that is out there requires that you actually have a digital footprint and that you're not constrained by physical borders. Rwanda is promoting exports. How do you promote exports in the context of the geography that we are faced with? And so we're telling SMEs that one, it's possible, we can train, we can de-risk the investments in e-commerce space, and that opportunities abound beyond our borders, and also you can sell your products and services to Rwandans within our borders.
Right, perfect. And of course, you've been doing this from your space. Talk to us a bit about Continuity Group and how it is actually getting itself in this space of e-commerce here in Rwanda today.
Thank you. As we are aware of, Amazon.com, for one of the largest actually retailers globally. One of our partners, Zebra Technologies, is our partner also in Rwanda, and they're very crucial, especially in looking at how do you develop an omni-channel kind of space that allows people to connect what is digital and also on the physical space, because that's why you need to fulfill the order that is made online. So we have the technologies that actually that support the transport logistics, because this is really crucial infrastructure that is required. So we have the right technologies that actually are meant to help track and trace the different assets as they move in the store and then towards the client, whoever has ordered them. But of course, we as the policymakers and as the campaigns are going in, of course, they're trying to open up the opportunity to many people to actually know about, one, they need to be a player in the e-commerce sector. The next will be about the tools that are needed actually to work, to make it work. Because there needs to be a connection between policy and the implementation of that policy. I need to have the right tools to use, of course, for that policy to actually have the desired results. So as a continuity group now, with the technology, we can actually provide both the tools, we can provide the security on the cybersecurity side, and also where it's needed, also look at power, because energy is a very critical asset that actually allows service availability. And part of what we've been trying to do is, of course, where the need is there, we actually jump in to support whoever is actually in need, looking at those already in play and those who need those services.
Right, and of course, when you talk about policy and ensuring that these policies are not just paper-based, but are actually actionable. So you tell us a bit about that, because from this campaign that you had 3 months ago that actually started, beyond just the campaign, let's talk a bit now about the policy part and how and what exactly it says and what is actually being done to actually make businesses like his and others who are out there to thrive here in Rwanda.
So in terms of policies, they are really enabling policies. So in terms of e-commerce, what needs to be done? So that's the sector of Minicom. There is a marketing strategy, there is a platform strategy, there is a security strategy around that. There is a training and capacity building strategy that is as well part of the overall strategy. We intervene in the sense that we help Minicom as well look at other aspects that probably they may not have looked at, and then we help them into implementing. The other part that, the other place where we play a very big key role is with businesses like Continuity. We tell them and we train them how they can help the end users. So what they need to tell them, how they need to tell them that what are the key things that will make their business thrive or things to avoid going forward.
Right.
So those are the places where we play. We advise the ministry, Minicom as well, but as well we help those who are offering the platform to the end user.
Right. Leonard, you've also spoken about the need for training, and which you are actually doing and working on. Is this all that entrepreneurs need to go online, to sell online? Because this is what seems to be the key thing that everybody's putting their energies in. Is this it?
I think they need more.
Yeah.
And I think, if I may speak to the policy framework and context that we are currently operating in, it's important to realize that a lot has been done to define this vision, ICT for development. Rwanda has the Smart Rwanda Master Plan, which also speaks to ICT for Com, that the Ministry of Trade and Industry is implementing. And most recently, an e-commerce strategy and policy that basically speaks to a number of pillars, including training, awareness, that RICTA has been doing a fantastic job, and issues to do with security for payments, issues to do with logistics for e-commerce, and trust, among many other issues, regulations, consumer protection. So training is not sufficient in itself. It's necessary but not sufficient. So what we're doing with the SMEs is beyond training, we're also addressing issues to do with logistics for e-commerce. So for example, we're setting up an e-commerce service center in partnership with DHL and the post office. This will allow SMEs to access logistics. If you order goods and services from an e-commerce platform, how will that good get to your address? So this e-commerce service center provides end-to-end services from the time you click and pay for your good online to the time it's packaged and ordered. This e-commerce service center facilitates. It has back-end services, it has digital studio services, it has ERP, warehouse management, last mile logistics, And we're going to use it as an incubator, if you will, to support SMEs understand everything it takes to succeed in the e-commerce world. And they'll also use this space at a subsidized fee, so they can understand that it's actually possible. And beyond that, it's de-risking it for them.
Right.
And on issues to do with trust and quality and payments, which is also critical, we are working with regional and global payment gateway service providers, so we can also have a solution that is affordable, that is accessible to the SMEs at the bottom of the pyramid, because what this project seeks to do is show that it's possible for not only 150 SMEs, that as we succeed, we can scale to 500 and beyond.
And pull others.
As we create this digital economy we're talking about.
Right, creating this digital economy. I like that aspect. But then, Ndayisaba, take us through the process, through the journey of actually making that decision to go online, because some people out there would still not understand the need for this, because everybody today talks about digital being the way to go. But then there are still those who are still not jumping onto this bandwagon. Tell us, through your own experience, what does it take? What did it take? What were the challenges? What are the taking points that you talk about it?
Thank you. I think one of the biggest reasons, of course, is understanding why, because without understanding why, then we can't play in this space. When you look at Africa in 1980, we're looking at about 500 million, almost 500 million people against 1 billion in China. Right now, by 2016, you're looking at almost 1.2 billion Africans, which means that, of course, the market has become larger. When you look at the size of the country, the constraints of one nation can have, the opportunities are immense when you look at the opportunity in terms of the size of our continent. We're looking at a market of 1.2 billion people that can actually have access to your product. And I think when it's the market. I think e-commerce is just about the market. It's just a terminology. I think we need to you need to use now another term.
Break it down.
Break it down, the terminology, so that the people can actually relate to this thing. This could be looked at as a foreign thing. What is e-commerce?
If you were to add a new word into the dictionary that still is not the same, what word would that be?
I think it should be the same, what people are used to know. But I understand that, of course, in terms of now the customer you're serving, it doesn't have to come directly to your shop. So they can buy from it. They can actually call you. They can send someone else to actually come and pick for whatever else that you sell. So you don't have to be limited by your geography. You can actually sell to people who are kilometers and many kilometers away. Right. And I think the thing has to be, and of course the purpose is very key, but of course the space has to be to be there to enable the people to actually to be courageous, because you may want to be actually wanting to jump into that space, but there may be hurdles that you need to jump in. So I think what they are doing as ITC, I think they're doing a good job. And .rw, we have .rw and you have .africa, because again, we're looking at how do you actually, exactly, when you look at the opportunities that we have, yes, we need to sell, but also we need to know that the brands that we sell have to have identity that we can relate with.
And go beyond just our
borders. And I think, the value of our products actually, by the way, can be attached to the brand of a nation. And I think this is one of the benefits people can get from, is what can the name of our countries actually add onto the product that we are selling.
Right.
And now the technology now to come in and support the supply chain now to enable whoever is selling whatever it is actually to reach out to the next person. And now the policy can start looking out or monitoring the quality, looking at the speed in terms of how quickly are you able to ship out, to stock, whatever that is needed. How are you able to innovate, to look for new products so they can make it exciting. And I think it doesn't have to be boring. And one of the most thing, as we talked about training, I think we need to make it also lively, you know. And when you're selling, actually are getting money, and I think it should be exciting. And I think this is this excitement that we need to let people know that actually is exciting, because there is money that is going to come from it. But of course, we need to know where are these tools. We have the tools, let's say for checkout. When you have in store and you have that experience, like what they're trying to create. DHL is one of the people who use tools like Zebra technology tools to actually deliver and track. And I think these are the benefits that actually can provide in terms of the how. So I think it's knowing who is where and what they can do.
Right.
So what I want to add is just that venturing into e-commerce will not be an easy thing, and it should not be portrayed that way. There is efforts. There are internal realignment that needs to be happening within your business, so that you need to align to that e-commerce component. The other thing I want to add is,
before you add that, can you talk to us a bit about this? Just 3 or 4 of those things that are key for realignment within your business as you jump into e-commerce?
First of all, you have to have the acceptance within your whole structure. The second thing is about how, for example, how you manage your stock. So once you venture into e-commerce, the way you manage your stock before and after, it's totally different. So it has to be automated, it has to be digital, and it has to have those capability of syncing both the walk-in clients and the online clients, so that you have always an accurate stock management and information. Those are the things that needs to be done internally. You have to have some policies that you did not have. For example, return policies, how you handle taxation, how you handle e-payments, how you secure the data. So someone from Europe is buying something from you. Therefore, automatically GDPR applies to that person. So how do you handle that data? How do you handle his email, his phone, his names? There are some regulations and compliance that you need to align. So all those things have to be aligned within the organization before you go into that. So efforts are real, but the benefits as well are immense as well. So people should not be afraid of venturing into e-commerce. It's too difficult, it's this and that. The benefits are huge, but the efforts are as well there.
Leonard, I've been in conversation with various young entrepreneurs who are in the e-commerce sector. They go in, and a few weeks later after getting in, they get an offer for a deal to supply, huge numbers of kilograms of, let's say, coffee beans, and they're not able to actually supply that. How do you protect yourself or make it not possible for you to create a sense that you can actually deliver this when you really know that the supply part is not really there? How do you deal with this kind of dilemma as an entrepreneur when you're in that situation?
I think the dilemma is real, and many entrepreneurs are faced with this challenge. But it's important to understand that there's actually initiatives in place to try and address and support SMEs. The example you've used around coffee, I know that government, for example, as they implement the logistics and distribution services strategy, thought through a number of initiatives, including multi-service centers, including setting up one in Congo-Brazzaville, exploring options of setting up a multi-service center in Nigeria, in the Middle East, hopefully in Asia. And the idea was to provide warehousing space where coffee and many other products, made in Rwanda products, can be stored, so that if orders are placed and they're looking for more than 1,000 kilos, that these orders can be delivered on time and on the terms and conditions as agreed, as ordered online. But that's speaking on a large scale, and I'm here to learn how far this has gone in terms of implementation. But recently, Alibaba and government of Rwanda launched the electronic world trading platform that seeks to connect Rwandan SMEs to the Chinese market. Huge market. And some of the products they are targeting around handicraft and coffee. I think during the first week when they opened, over 1,000 kilograms of coffee had been sold using the Alibaba platform. And the idea is to make it viable for SMEs to understand their channels. But the project we're implementing as the International Trade Center, which is a UN agency that connects SMEs to global markets, in partnership with the government of Rwanda, Ministry of Trade, DHL, BMZ and GIZ as the donors, and many other private sector partners here in Rwanda. We're also seeking to address issues around logistics for e-commerce. And the e-commerce service center that we're setting up is really aimed at doing that. So we will have a warehousing component with the e-commerce service center that has shelves and has pallets.
For anybody and everybody.
For any SME in any product category, you can come and stock your product. There's a fee for it. But the idea is that the products are there and that once orders are placed, you can actually fulfill that order and it can be delivered on time.
Right. That would be really interesting. CEO Ghislaine, I would like you to just speak to us over the other issues that are of concern, because at the end of the day, we've had the fears that people still have with e-commerce. There's the issue of security, cybercrime. We're looking at numbers, and of course, global, worldwide, cybercrime has actually cost estimated $600 billion a year. This is what actually cybercrime is actually doing to the e-commerce industry. That's one of the components of what actually pulls back e-commerce, the trust that my money, my card will be safe over there. What sort of strategies have been put in place from a Rwanda perspective? to fix this or to solve this?
So basically, as far as e-commerce is concerned, Rwanda is not particular in any sense. E-commerce best practices as far as cybersecurity is concerned are more or less the same. The same way you have a store in South Africa is the same way you should secure your website in Rwanda. So we look at best practices, HTTPS. So your website has to have HTTPS so that between the end user who is buying and the website or the store, there is encryption between the transaction happening between those two entities. Storing your information in an encrypted way, in a best way possible, so that nobody can come in and change things or take at ransom either the business or the card holder. So all those kind of things are the best practices that we are trying as technologists to instill into our registrars in the community around us.
Right.
So basically, we take it as critical so that we build trust. If we can't have that, then we can't build trust. Therefore, our e-commerce will always be behind. So that's very important for us as RICTA, and we are looking forward to work with our registrars to have that done.
Right. How real is this challenge?
The challenge is really because when Continuity Group started in 2015, I think this is where, of course, when you look at the experience of Africa being a laggard in the most, initiatives across the world, I think cybersecurity is one of those areas. Of course, most people who are at the helm of most institutions, of course, that never clicked as really a priority area. And to some, actually, it took them 3 years to start, let's say, enabling. When you look at in Rwanda, actually, the numbers started this year to, when you look at the security I was mentioning about, to start looking at actually some really meaningful numbers going up across the government and also on private businesses. When you look at banks as well, this is the same challenges, of course, the slow adoption of these technologies. But and the threat is real because, one, there's this thinking that, of course, for you to secure, you have to have lost something. You need a better padlock after someone has stolen from you. And I think that is the worst thing, that people need to know that as you go into this digital market, it means that you actually can make so much money and lose it all at the same time because you've lost trust. And I think trust is a currency in e-commerce space. And I think when you look at the brand reputation, it's what actually determines how much you can sell. And also there's something that happens. When you have this security, now the algorithms that we have, they can actually rank better your business over your neighbor's business. So there are now new metrics that need to be considered.
That can help in building the trust.
Exactly. And as you are talking about what needs to be done, and I think what has been lacking is actually strategies that actually can actually respond to the different markets. When you look at the customer in a traditional sense, it's not the customer in digital sense. And I think this is the nuances that I think when we train or as we try to encourage or educate the customers, we need to know also who can get that. Because if they can't get that, then of course it means that you can compromise in terms of how much money you can make. We have an experience in Gisovu, which is almost 400 kilometers, a tea factory that makes almost 90% of its tea for export. And they make almost 10 tons of tea per day. And they actually won an award, which means they make the best tea, of course, in Africa and in the world. And when you look at the process that they have there, they're still manual. And what if now you have the orders, the demand that you have, and you still have the people who have to sign against its invoice? They call them invoices. It becomes a problem. And I think when you have this warehouse, because you have the technology we have, but again, it means data. When you talk about security, it's data. This data is what you use actually to create a new product, a better product. And I think this is one way of encouraging them actually to understand that now we get into new economics, which requires new thinking. So our strategy is very key, and people to support that implementation of the strategy will be very helpful in terms of looking at the sustainability of the business.
And I think as we get more into the digital market space, it's important that we also fix the retail and wholesale aspects of commerce. And so brick and mortar is still important as we migrate to click and mortar. So retailers are getting onto various omni-channels. You have the physical retail store, you have the online store, you have the mobile store, and you're going to scan. So the training that we are actually implementing takes into account all these new dynamics. How do you address issues around trust and trust for your products in your retail store? How do you address issues to do with trust online? And as we build omni-channels and multi-vendor platforms for those SMEs that can't afford their own platforms or e-commerce sites, what we're doing is training them on how do you list your products online? How do you drive traffic to your website? How do you list the different product categories? How do you take photos of this cup, of this glass, and that PC or that remote control, and how do you upload them? What millimeters do you take into account? As you describe the product. So we go into detail because this is what consumers want to see. When I go online, I'll trust that website.
What does the future e-commerce business look like for you in terms of if you were to describe the next generation of e-commerce businesses? How will they look like in your opinion?
I mean, first of all, it will be mobile, more mobile than PC or tablets. So it has to adapt to that. It will be millennials, as we discussed today with Rwanda Internet Governance Forum. It will have to be built over time. The trust will have to be built over time. So we will have to have, the local e-commerce businesses will have to build the trust. They will actually have to earn the trust. And looking at all those small things and then building slowly and going forward. I believe e-commerce is the way to go because I think the generation of our kids will probably know only that going forward.
Right. Leonard, are we going to be creating a lazy generation? Generation that will just want to sit and just tap and click and it's here at the doorstep. What's the future e-commerce business look like for you in the next 5 years to come?
I think the outlook for the future is quite optimistic. I think I'm optimistic about what the future holds for e-commerce for Africa and for Rwanda. And I think what we need to do as entrepreneurs, as policymakers, as private sector is to embrace the digital space that we are in and invest in skill building, invest in awareness, invest in the right infrastructure, both broadband and logistics infrastructure, make payments more affordable for the bottom of the pyramid SMEs, and also ensure that we're not leaving anyone behind. The youth that he's alluded to, who are the majority in Africa and in Rwanda and in East Africa, as well as women entrepreneurs. These are some of the issues that ITC is trying to address globally, but also through this project here in Rwanda.
Right. That's all the time we had for this conversation. I want to say thank you for making time and sharing your brains on it. Until another time, thank you so much for being a part of this. Of course, thank you for also watching and being a part of this conversation. It's interesting, and of course, we have more like this from where it just came from. So keep it CNBC Africa, where we are fast in business worldwide. My name, as always, is Eugene Anangwe. Goodbye for now.